Hey guys, PIEGUYRULZ here, and welcome to the recast. I am here with MonstersReview, my co-host.
Yo.
And we are also joined by special guest, PhantomStrider.
Howdy. How you going?
So we have a pretty interesting show for you today. We're covering one of those subjects where it's like a second episode that basically just is the first episode, but a little different. We also have a bit of news that we didn't talk about last week, mostly. It's a little bit of older news, but come on, you guys want to hear us talk about the blue genie, correct? I got a question, we got stuff we watched, and yeah, it's gonna be a good show. PhantomStrider, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay, just doing a bit of audio editing for the next video, and yeah, things have been going pretty well this month. Just,
Nice.
Got some, been talking with a few assistant writers and stuff, and been looking at a lot of dark lists, which has been good fun, and, everyone seems to really enjoy it, so that's been nice. I've sort of been feeling like I've been going from, an actual cartoon critic like you guys to a kind of campfire story narrator, which is an interesting transition.
Oh, well, you have a great voice for it.
Oh, thank you.
Monster,
Yes.
how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I have a bit of a headache right now. It feels like there's a brick in my head, but other than that, I'm doing okay. Last week I said that there would be a Drake and Josh video.
You didn't say that. No, you didn't say that. You hinted at something. You are not legally bound to release a Drake and Josh video.
Right. I said that I would be releasing a video that's spherical about a Nickelodeon show. Yes, most of you guys got the hint. It's about Drake and Josh. I am postponing it to Friday, March 1st, so that's when the video's dropping.
And so it begins.
So it begins. 7 months until the Drake and Josh review comes out.
Set your timers now.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
How are you doing?
I'm all right. I'm getting over a little bit of a cold. It snowed here today, so I took a snow/sick day from work and been chilling around. My cat also has a cold, which I wasn't even sure that cats could get colds, but poor little thing has it. Her nasal passages are really congested, and she's got like all little eye boogers around her eyes. If it keeps up, I'll have to take her to the VET tomorrow.
Cats can get terrible colds. I used to work at a pet shelter, and the cats would always, be getting colds in the cages and stuff, and they'd always be sneezing on the people, so we had to keep away from them when they did. I don't know, cats just are really contagious.
Oh, dear. Well, if you hear what sounds like a middle-aged man snoring in my room during this recording, it's my cat. She purrs loudly, too, and the congestion is, like, exacerbating the purr sound even louder. But she's just chilling on the couch over there. So, we have a Discord server. Monsters, would you like to read out the URL?
I don't have the URL.
Yeah, I was putting you on the spot for no reason. The link is in the description.
You always do.
It's our dynamic.
Yeah.
But the link is in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on a podcast streaming service, hi and welcome. We have a YouTube channel. We got to start saying that because people might not know. There might be a link to the Discord there. If not, go check out the YouTube video. That'll have the Discord link for certain. We also have corrections. So last week, I got confused about All Grown Up quite a bit, apparently. It wasn't a fan canon that Dill was dropped on his head by Tommy, even though Tommy was carrying around literally a 2-month-old in the Valentine's episode we saw. It's actually canon, and it was a joke made in the show about Phil and Lil wondering if he's so weird because they dropped him when he was a baby. So there you go. Canon. And then also the Chongo thing was 2 separate episodes. There's one where he pretends to be Chongo to get the really boring girl from the Valentine's Day episode to like him. And then there's another one where Kimmy had a crush on Z. There's a lot of obnoxious relationship stuff in All Grown Up, if there's any takeaway from all of this.
I feel like there's a bit of teen pandering to that show. I've been looking through a few episodes for Darkest Nick, and I personally didn't feel... I feel it was getting closer to the teen sitcom era of Nickelodeon than it was, say, the original Rugrats. That's just my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then our last correction is that... So, this isn't really a correction. This is just an addendum, because even we weren't entirely sure. But the bulk of LEGO shows, at least the well-known LEGO shows like Ninjago and Spinjitzu, or whatever the other one was...
yeah. I don't know.
Those ones were on Cartoon Network, but technically Nickelodeon did have something called Lego Hero Factory that aired mostly on Nicktoons. So it's not their first rodeo with Legos, I guess. I don't know.
Guess not.
No. All right. Reminder, we are going to be announcing the Community Cast number 2 next week on the recast. So we'll have a date, we'll have a time, we'll have the shows / movies that we're covering, and it's exciting. We have a few candidates that we're still working on. And also next week, is there anything special, Monsters?
I don't know, maybe a little 3-0.
Whoa. I won't tell you who we got guesting because they might get sick. But it's some old pals.
Yep.
Oh goodness. But yeah, no, we have a pretty awesome 30th episode planned. The plans changed quite a bit. We'll be announcing what the things we're covering are later in this very show, and it's exciting. That's all I'll say for the moment. And now to Monsters with the update for our Anchor stuff.
We don't have an update. We just have more episodes.
What's Anchor stuff? Sorry.
Well, I'm glad you asked. Anchor is your one-stop shop for promoting. It's the service that we release. It's like the RSS feed that sends out our podcast to like iTunes and all these other podcast things.
Oh,
it's
neat.
an RSS feed. Yeah, it's free, so that's why we went with it.
# not sponsored. Yeah.
Yeah. Not sponsored, but soon. All right, so we're going to be moving on to the What We Watched portion of the show. This is where we talk about just anything we've watched in the past week or so that we feel is worth talking about. PhantomStrider, have you seen anything interesting?
Oh, you bet. I actually just finished Disenchantment last night, which, everyone was right about in that it starts off quite slow, and I have mixed thoughts on Bean, particularly at the beginning, but the last 2 episodes drop a bombshell on you, and things happen with the family and Bean's mother, and just all sorts of crazy stuff happens, and people die. It's so it really leaves you hooked and wanting to know what's going to happen next season. Have either of you seen Disenchantment by any chance?
We did a Monsters and Kuro talked about the first episode way back in like the 3rd or 4th episode of the recast.
Yeah.
And I wasn't impressed enough to really want more, but I have heard like that it does pick up.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It starts off very average. Like it's a show that's interesting all the way through, but not really funny. It has lots of silent moments where you they must expect you to be laughing, but just aren't there.
Okay. But you do recommend sticking it through.
Yeah. It's a show that's okay to binge watch, and it's none of the jokes are incredibly offensive, I can certainly sit through it, and it's certainly a show I walk away from saying, I'm glad I watched this. It's not like, oh, I'm going to watch this 5 times, but I would maybe watch the last 2 episodes a lot, or the next season, because it really, really starts to get the story moving in an interesting way that's different from Simpsons or Futurama or anything Matt Groening's done before.
Huh. Because being jaded about The Simpsons are part of why I really wasn't really interested past the first episode.
Yeah, well, Simpsons is a whole different can of worms in itself. Do you guys have any thought? Like, I don't know if most people even watch modern seasons at the moment.
Oh God, I tried not to. All right, cool. Monsters, have you feasted your oculars upon any media entertainment sources?
Yes, if you put it that way. I've been watching in the past week a lot of Nathan For You. I don't know.
Oh, nice.
I love Nathan For You. It's one of my favorite shows that was on television. I think it ended last year. It's not a cartoon. It's a live action show that was on Comedy Central.
It feels like a cartoon sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and the sad thing is, well, I'll talk about it more, but it's basically Nathan Fielder. He's Nathan. He's a comedian, but he kind of portrays like an exaggerated persona of himself in the show. And he basically goes around to struggling like small businesses and uses these crazy, bizarre, and comedic marketing strategies to kind of help revitalize business. So
it's like I don't know, like The Prophet or like Kitchen Nightmares or something. But the catch is that even though it's a parody, no one knows it's a parody except for Nathan. That's
Yeah.
like that's the thing. It's a parody, but it's not like a documentary now, which you spoke about last week, where it's like a scripted show. This is 100% allegedly. I mean, I don't know. There's been rumors and there's been controversy or questioning, but allegedly the business owners and all the people on the show go along with these weird ideas, not knowing. I mean, they know it's a TV show, but they think it's a genuine, I'm coming up with a good idea to save you TV show.
Yeah. And some of these ideas have been like viral and notorious. Like he had one called Dumb Starbucks, where he rebranded like a struggling cafe as Starbucks, but put the word dumb in front of it, because it was legal to recreate and use the Starbucks IP if it was a parody.
Fair use.
Fair use. But yeah, there's a ton of other ones that I could just go on talking about for days. Like there's one where there's a frozen yogurt shop that's struggling, so they make a poop flavored one.
That's an early episode
to get attention. Yeah, there's one where there's a bar that doesn't allow smoking, or so legally you're not allowed to smoke in bars, but to make it legal and to revitalize business in that bar, they put a play in the back, and because people are smoking as a part of the performance, I guess it's okay. And then, yeah, there's just so many other ones that I could keep talking about, but it's a brilliant show. I'd highly recommend watching it. It's on Hulu. So I watched that, and then I also watched a movie called Across the Universe. And it's a musical with Beatles music, except it has nothing to do with the Beatles. So it takes place in like the 60s, 70s Vietnam era. And one of the characters is from Liverpool. And there's a few like references here and there, a few like quippy lines of dialogue, but beyond that, it really has nothing to do with the Beatles. And it's very 2000s. I think it came out in 2007. So like, it's very you can see like 2000s fashion within it, and like kind of 2000s hairstyles, and there's a little bit of bad CGI too, even though it's supposed to take place in the 60s and 70s. And they focus a lot on the Beatles psychedelic stuff. Like I'm a huge fan of the Beatles, but I'm more of a fan of their later stuff and their very early stuff. Their stuff kind of in the middle, where they did a lot of drugs and got very psychedelic and went to India, isn't exactly my cup of tea. And for some reason, this movie, maybe because it takes place in the 60s, tries to highlight hippie culture and, that sort of movement. So there's a lot of that psychedelic stuff that I wasn't a big fan of. And maybe this is a bit of foreshadowing, but I'm not the biggest fan of just the musical genre. I don't know, like I find it really, really awkward when people are just trying to, you have to take people seriously when they're doing this dramatic stuff and then they just break into song. And I don't know. But yeah, it's an okay movie. I like Beatles music and I had some of that, so.
Okay. Monsters, if you were a stand-up comedian, I feel like you would be Nathan Fielder.
You think so? Do I have the deadpan delivery?
Yeah, and you kind of got the voice too.
Thank you. Question mark.
Oh goodness.
So what'd you watch?
It's my turn. Okay.
Yeah.
So what did I watch? Okay. Well, I won't talk about it too much because this is going to be talked about at another time. But I watched Lego Batman. Best Buy had a good sale for President's Day, where like the it's like the Blu-ray 4K, or not the 4K, but it was the Blu-ray and digital and DVD combo packs for that, and Spider-Man Homecoming were both $15 each.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I saw Lego Batman again. I like it as much as I saw it the first time. I might like it more than the Lego movie. I don't know. I got to think about it a little more, but it's a very entertaining film. And then the other thing I picked up at Best Buy was Batman the Animated Series, which I've spoken about a few times on here. Yeah. Well, because that was on sale too. And for anyone, there was a release of this like a while ago where the discs came in these like terrible sleeves instead of being in cases. The version I got didn't have that. It was two big chunky Blu-ray cases, like jewel cases with like a bunch of the discs in there, but at least the discs like were in there. Like they had places in there, in it. And I didn't even touch the discs because for some reason this version comes with digital too, which you don't see too many times in TV shows. You see it all the time with movie combo packs, but you hardly ever see it with TV shows. So I was able to watch it just straight through an app on my TV instead of having to change discs and all that other stuff. The bonus features are still on the discs, and I will check those out at some point. But yeah, I'm watching it through, still making my way. I'm on like the second season now, or I don't know. The season's split differently depending on where you look, I believe. But I just saw the infamous episode. Oh, it's like it's called like Almost Got Him or something. It's the episode where the villains are all playing poker around the table and talking about how they almost defeated Batman. And it's like it shows up very frequently on top 10 or top 5 Batman the Animated Series list because it is a very entertaining episode. It's basically like they threw a bunch of Batman episode climaxes from like 4 episodes just all as one episode, and then the actual climax of the episode is not something I'll spoil, but there is kind of like a twist to it that like is like, ah, man, that's satisfying. Like, it's a good ending. So yeah, that definitely lives up to the hype. And then I don't know, man, just been playing a lot of PS4. Finished Spider-Man and the DLC. I've been trying to still get through Kingdom Hearts 1, but like, I don't know, man. I'm not feeling the combat system.
Oh man, I'm going through 3 at the moment too.
I'm going through. Yeah, I'm still on the first one. I dropped $100 on the entire collection, and I'm on the first game, and I'm like, I like the ideas and everything, but the combat system is just a little basic for my liking. I hope it gets a little more complex as the series goes on. Strider, have you played?
It unfortunately does get more complex, but not in the kind of the good way, in the kind of way that makes a 13-year-old feel smart, like unnecessarily complex about darky dark, light, darky dark. You're going to hear a lot more than that, and you're just going to cherish the Disney moments because they're beautiful, some of them, but oh god, those dark organization. It's just like, it's like a 15-year-old wrote it. I literally have written a better novel that makes more coherent sense and, you know, ties everything together better when I was 15. It's just horrible. I'm really frustrated with this game at the moment because I keep trying to enjoy the moments where I'm going through Tangled's world, you know, with Rapunzel and everyone, and it's just wonderful. Then suddenly an organization member will come in and tell me, darky, dark, light, dark, Sora, you're connected to something or other, and it's just, shut up and let me enjoy the Disney world. It's just, yeah, I'm sorry.
So you want it without the Final Fantasy element, essentially.
Well, like, the Final Fantasy elements are good, but they've actually cut them out. It's like Disney and Pixar have had a much stronger influence on this one. They told them how to animate it, and they have everything. And there's like little images of Mickey Mouse everywhere that you have to capture. Like, the amount Disney, like, obviously they've given him another truckload of money, and like now all the Final Fantasy worlds are gone and it's all Disney. But they still have their stupid organization plots that they have to parade around. It's just so pretentious. It's like the most pretentious plot you will ever find. It's terrible.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And that's my rant done, sorry.
Hopefully I'll get there someday to the third one. Oh, man. All right. So, you guys ready to move on to the news?
Yeah.
Okay, so this first one, it's a biggie, and it's animated related in the sense that it affects, like, it has affected people in the cartoon community. It's not entirely animated related, but I feel like we gotta talk about it at least a little bit. So this past week, YouTube, like, nuked a bunch of channels, like took them down entirely. And it was like a caper, like, what's happening? What's going on? And it turns out that apparently anyone that had like a title or maybe even a description with the letters CP next to each other, just that whole channel gets taken down. And so the reasoning for this is those initials they stand for something that is incredibly disgusting and should 100% be purged from YouTube and everywhere on the internet. So YouTube is, I don't want to say right, but like YouTube's goal in this was to try to eliminate that certain thing. but the way they went about it was just the weirdest thing. And fortunately, from what I've seen anyway, like the big one affected in our community was Veilskabum. I know he and a few others got their channel back, but who knows how many small or medium, like, channels with only a few hundred subscribers or 10 subscribers or whatever, like, who knows what happened to them. Like the big channels, of course, you're able to get in touch with YouTube after enough trying and after being in a network or whatever. But the very small people, it's like, that's, who knows. But the big thing, I don't know, the frustrating thing is just that, like, YouTube needs bots and it needs systems to moderate it, because there's just literally so much content that there's no way a human being or a team of human beings could ever do it. Like, that's just 100% true. Anyone that tells you, like, oh, well, it's stupid that they have these, like, auto flagger or whatever, it's like, it's not stupid that they have bots to comb through the information. What's stupid is that they don't have, like, how can a channel get deleted without any human oversight? How? Because guess what? Veilskabum's CP was Club Penguin. Like, it was like one video on Club Penguin. Like, how could it, if a human, like, took 2 seconds to look at the channel, they'd realize this is not the content that they're searching for. It's frustrating.
It's a tricky one because, when you've got, probably thousands of hours of Family Guy footage being uploaded every day, all the time, and you need to have those bots do these things automatically. And often, you need to, even when you're looking through your flagging of what is copyrighted content of what you've already put up, it's organized by the most amount of views. And, it can be that there's just, as you say, there's just so much content that it's difficult for one person to get around to manually doing it. All they can do is try and get their lovely, lovely algorithms, which they think are just so wonderful, to do the job better, which means a lot of us, have to, some blood is spilt in the process, unfortunately.
Yeah. And I tend to play devil's advocate with YouTube, and it's not even because I'm trying to defend them in cases like this. I think it's just always very important to understand why they are doing certain things, because oftentimes people just want to rabble YouTube is stupid, rabble, how dare they rabble, and it's like, well, let's see what they're doing, let's come up with a unified thing, like a unified, like, okay, well, YouTube, we don't approve of channels, just decently large channels especially, just taken down willy-nilly without a human oversight. Let's push that message towards YouTube, and hopefully they'll listen, as opposed to just rabble, YouTube is stupid, rabble.
It's a case a bit like politics, where there's not just YouTube you're being spoken to, but YouTube is being heavily influenced by the large corporations and copyright people who have like Viacom and that sort of thing. So, and often the problem is also that their communication skills are just abysmal.
Yeah.
They're so bad at getting a message across, and sometimes they can't even properly tell you the message. Like, I've spoken to people at YouTube before, and like just getting the message of how copyright works or how monetization works. Hank Green can't even tell you how monetization works, and that's just insane. And none of us know. We all get paid, but like we don't actually fully know how this system works per 1,000 views. It's just, and
you're not wrong.
you get differing opinions. You'll get channels saying how the money system works, and but no one truly properly can tell you the exact reasoning of how it works. It's just, yeah, it's very fuzzy. But the fact that we can be here, I guess, is a privilege.
Oh yeah, and that's always another thing that I try to push to. It's just that it's like, for all their misgivings, I mean, YouTube exists because, like, YouTube exists. That's not to say we let them get away with anything, but it's just like we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have the platform if YouTube didn't exist. I mean, you could argue that like another platform would have risen up and been better than YouTube if YouTube didn't come along, but you could also say another platform could have risen up and been 80 million times worse. But yeah. Well, it would have been maybe like Amazon Tube or something.
Yeah, probably, or Disney Tube.
Oh goodness. Oh god, if it was Amazon too, it would just be like pop-ups for just things that like you recently looked at, just in the corner of the video. Like like hey, you looked at a blender last month. like
You still want a blender.
You're watching a video about Phineas and Ferb. Have you checked out Phineas and Ferb the complete first season?
have you tried purchasing Doritos lately? But yeah, no, I just felt like we should at least talk about that a little bit. I mean, it's nothing new with YouTube. I mean, it's a different reason this time because it's not copyrighted material, but it is essentially like the same issue in that just that it's like, well, if you had people that would actually take a final say on certain things, or even if YouTube just had a better support team, like really, honestly.
And who'd speak coherent English and actually listen to what the person is saying to them rather than just spouting back a bunch of rhetoric that they've got written down. It's just, when you've dealt with this tech support team, when you've got like something demonetized, something like, no, I need this sorted now. I've tried this, I've tried that. It's, that is a frustrating part.
A lot of people are scared because some are thinking that this might be a precursor to the next adpocalypse. Reasons being, so apparently there was a YouTuber. I don't know too much about this, so I'm not going to act like I'm qualified to talk about it, but apparently there was a YouTuber who discovered that there was a link between this controversial stuff and certain advertisers. So this YouTuber basically made these rant videos attacking certain advertisers because of the links that they had with that controversial content. And since it's kind of blown up, and some advertisers like Disney and I think Nestle have already pulled their ads from YouTube in the past couple days. So it's not looking too good on that front.
We could probably actually tell by looking at our CPMs over the last couple of days in terms of how many people have pulled out, because advertisers have a huge hold on what happens here.
So you're saying this Phineas and Ferb discussion is not going to be sponsored by Disney? All right, so let's move on to some actual cartoon news. Honestly, almost all the stuff, well, a few of these things are stuff from last week that we didn't get a chance to talk about because we spent so long talking about the Nick upfront. The first thing is we missed, because this wasn't in like the upfront presentation, but something that was announced like a few days before it, but we missed it. Nickelodeon is working on a new cartoon. Wow, a cartoon amongst all the news of reality shows and unboxing videos. But of course it's a spin-off. It's a Star Trek animated show. Are either of you guys Star Trek fans?
No, I've got an opinion on Star Wars, but I like everything Star Trek has done and the amount of scientific advancements it's encouraged, and certainly I think done a lot of good for our world.
We need to ask resident recast recurring guest, the imaginative artist Nikki, because she's a big Star Trek fan, what she thinks of this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The project's got a few interesting people attached that worked on things like the Lego Movie. So I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely not as down on this as I am with anything else, because I mean, the Star Trek universe seems to be fleshed out enough from my limited understanding that you could certainly make a kid show about it. There was an animated series in the 70s or something. Like they have done it. So, I'm not against it, but it is just like, here's another thing that's not an original idea.
It could has a potential to be a very smart show, though. I think a bit like Netflix Carmen Sandiego, it has a potential to teach kids about things like science, or at least make science cool, which is always good, like make the space race and stuff cool and encourage that sort of thing. And I think that they do that for adults in Star Trek, and there's a potential, I think, there to make, scientific stuff and space stuff much more interesting to kids at a young age, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Monsters, are they going to visit Planet Sheen?
They're going to visit Xenu? Yeah, they just teleport onto the planet. They just see Sheen acting wacky, and then they just teleport right back up to the Enterprise.
Sheeny, do the weenie.
I'm gonna give you a whirly offer. No,
God.
But I don't know. Unpopular opinion. I've always kind of found Star Trek to be a little boring.
I don't know if that's
the
not
original
series,
opinion, actually. Yeah,
is it? I don't know.
The original series or just all of
the original series? I haven't seen too much. Like, I haven't seen the recent movies or anything, but like the original 60s, like William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy. I don't know. I find it kind of boring.
I just tend to think of funny costumes and very slowly moving ships when I think of the old Star Trek.
Yeah.
Most people, or at least most people our age, tend to have the most fun is for the Next Generation.
Yeah, with Captain Picard. So I'm curious where they'll take this, and especially if it's going to be targeted towards kids, if they're gonna try to make it a bit more energetic or not.
Yeah. So at least it's a cartoon.
Yeah.
Like,
yep, that's...
if you saw their upfront, you'd be like, oh, are they still doing cartoons, or are we all are?
Here's the alternative. Could you imagine Nickelodeon giving the budget for a live-action sci-fi show?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Snyder.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Lots of canned laughter. With teens in spacesuits. Oh, I can picture it now, and I don't like it.
Remember that one show where the guy who played Fred was an alien living on Earth?
Marvin Martian.
Marvin Martian. I don't know.
Marvin, sorry.
Nick has a terrible track record with, like, alien shows.
Does too, doesn't it? As long as they don't visit any aliens.
Oh, that's funny. Oh, man. Okay, so yeah, there's that. And now, can we just take a few moments to just completely mock the Will Smith as the Blue Genie?
Day one, I've been crapping on these Disney remakes.
All right, Monsters, let the guest talk, please.
I was going to say, this really confuses me because it's like everyone has been, a lot of people have been in a trance for the last decade or so because they were like, oh, that Jungle Book one, that was fine, that was completely original, yeah. And, it had guest stars in it who didn't seem to do their lines or really care much. I mean... And then we've got freaking Beauty and the Beast and freaking Emma Watson sing-talking her way through and mocking the original Paige O'Hara's performance, and just that people were okay with that, and her and Beast having no chemistry. Not even Beast, that CG piece of junk. It's just... And then this comes along and suddenly everyone's chucking a huge fuss because Will Smith is a genius. I was like, I like Will Smith, and honestly, out of all the people they could have chosen to replace Robin Williams, no, it isn't Robin Williams, but hey, I like Will Smith. He's a likable guy. I do not get why this is the big thing. Like, we could have chucked a... Not we, but, lots of people could have chucked a fuss ages ago, but suddenly Will Smith... I mean, who do they want to choose for the genie? Who would have honestly been better?
That's the thing. That's what I was thinking. And my conclusion is Aladdin is at least 75% just Robin Williams. Like,
yes.
Like, that's what that movie is. And so it's like, oh, well, who should they recast? Who should they do? And it's just like, how about you just don't do the movie? Like, like, that's my solution. I mean, I do agree to an extent with you, Strider, just in that, like, in terms of, like, if they could pick anyone, like, Will Smith is definitely not a bad choice. He is. I mean, we talked about this in Shark Tale a few weeks ago, that he is a pretty enigmatic guy, even when he's given a pretty bad role. Like, he's likable and he's energetic, and he knows how to play things off, I guess. But it's just like, I don't need another genie ever, and I don't need this movie.
You probably didn't need another Beauty and the Beast and another Emma Watson sing-talking her way through with a stupid cringe troll face either. But we got it.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I think the thing is that the genie, the Blue Robin Williams genie is, like, memeable. I think that's the thing. I didn't know that. I didn't honestly know that they made a Beauty and the Beast live-action movie. But like,
that's a good thing.
That's the thing. That's what I think is, like, the big sticking point with this, is because these Disney movies really, they went, like, under the radar, in the sense that the people that love Disney movies and people with young kids and, like, all this stuff. I mean, we had a whole discussion about, like, who is going to these things, but my conclusion is Disney fanatics and people with young kids that want safe movies, like, they've been going to see it, and by and large, the rest of us have kind of, like, ignored it or whatever. Or didn't hear about it.
They make $500 million each at least, and, like, they pretty much double their profits of $250 million each. I mean, they're expensive, but they make it back, so clearly a lot of us are seeing it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit jaded on this subject because I'm angry about... I'm still angry about Beauty and the Beast.
No, welcome to the recast. We do this here. No, but that's my like theory is just that like Blue Robin Williams, Will Smith is not the worst thing in the world, but it's just kind of a symbol of the plague of these remakes, and it's just something that is so immediately noticeable that like it's not Robin Williams A, and B, it's like this hokey CG. Like they premiered him in an entertainment magazine cover and he wasn't blue. So I don't know if this was a reveal, like they were saving it, or if they directly responded to criticism, but it's just kind of like funny to see the non-blue genie get made fun of, and now the blue genie is getting made fun of, and it's like, just don't make the movie. It's too late. They're going to do it, but just don't do it.
It actually brings up, I think, quite a good point in terms of the fact that he wasn't originally blue, and that is that we're in an age now where marketing is more important, sadly, sometimes than the actual finished product. I mean, we can see that through YouTube quite often. You know, and the fact that they are marketing, like the marketing is half the movie for us. Like we go through this year of marketing, and where the ideas aren't even fully churned out yet, and they're adjusting according to the instant social media feedback they get. So, like, we might end up with a pink genie at this rate. Who knows?
We're going to end up with no genie. They're just going to airbrush him out of the movie. Or I guess they don't have to airbrush him if he's just a CG effect. But, yeah, no, I don't know. It's just, Robin Williams' performance is so, like, I'm on the Aladdin part of Kingdom Hearts, and it's just like, that's not Robin Williams.
Oh, Dan Castellaneta is lovely. I know it's not Robin Williams, but like he's still a great guy. You can feel his good heart through the performance. You can tell he's enjoying it, and that's what I really like about it.
But it's just, I don't know. Robin Williams' Genie is just like the 1 in a million performance that you cannot recast, and it's like, so why? Oh God,
I kind of experienced that with in Kingdom Hearts 2 with Mulan, with the dragon. I was like, that's not Eddie Murphy, that's a white guy. And then I looked him up and he was a white guy.
Oh no.
You can't remake Mushu either, and you're going to notice that as you go through Pieguy on some of these, is that a lot of the time with characters like Belle, they actually will get the original voice actor, but some of them you're like, who are you? I got to the Toy Story level recently, and it's obviously Tom Hanks's brother, and every time I hear his voice, I'm like, that's not Woody. Who are you? What are you doing impersonating this character I love? And because we're so inherently connected to these characters from childhood, we're like, it's like a violation to hear another voice coming out. And I guess that's a bit like with you and Robin Williams. You really appreciated that performance. So
I do.
I guess that's what we're seeing now here with because, you know, Friend Like Me is the YouTube video that is just massively popular when it comes to Aladdin. And when you look at Aladdin and Jasmine and all the other characters, they're pretty freaking boring. They're just boring. Like, there's nothing about them. It is the genie around them that lights it up and makes it happen, oddly enough.
Dude, I remember the carpet having more personality than Aladdin.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he has lots of good body language, yeah.
Yeah, so, I don't know, that's... Monsters, how do you feel about Blue Robin?
It's okay. It's okay. We have a new genie now. No, but I was never going to watch this movie in the first place. I'm still not going to. This, if anything, is more of a confirmation that I'm not going to watch the movie.
Oh, we're making this a recast episode. You better believe it.
Really?
Yeah,
I don't
we can't
want
do
to
Lion
give money
King.
to Disney.
Well, we'll
Disney has enough money.
We'll subscribe to Disney now, and you can enjoy other Disney things. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. There's your bit of snark.
I don't think Disney will have enough money until they take over the world, you know, and there's McDisney and KF Disney, and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
New York Disney. Yeah.
There is a point. I mean, that's a whole other discussion for another time. But just, yeah, man, Disney is scary.
Terrifyingly large at this point. We've seen them just grow like this massive consuming conglomerate over the last 20 years, and even each year it gets at a faster, more sporadic, alarming rate. And, I love Disney, and I'd rather them own Fox than freaking Fox own Fox, but it's still terrifying.
Mm-hmm. And then our last piece of news is very confusing. There's a Green Eggs and Ham cartoon coming to Netflix. And also, it's apparently going to be like the most expensive animated cartoon TV show. I don't know.
I saw that there's a lot of celebrities in it.
Oh, you think it's that? You think it went all to the celebrity voices?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what happened with freaking Shark Tale.
Oh. Yeah, I guess, hey, listen, if you...
They have to pay writers extra so that they can make everything rhyme.
Someone had to animate all those funky fresh fins.
Hire someone with talent for the Dr. Seuss movies. You know how much that cost us?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess technically if they pay one actor like $6 billion to be in this, it'd be the most expensive thing ever. But no, I mean, there's like a 2-second teaser, and it doesn't look like a show that's going to cost however many million, did they say? Did they say?
Most of these come out nowadays at about, if I remember right, around $250 to $300 million. Maybe 200.
Yeah. It's just, I don't even know how to feel about this. Like, I don't know, man. Is this it? Like, we can't, there's no more originality. It's done. We're done.
Because we're in an age now where if you want to get that person, again, marketing is more important. And Sony has known this for a long time. If they want to get people to sit down in their third sequel, their trequel, whatever you call it, of Smurfs, they need to get Katy Perry as a voice actor, spend half their budget on her giving an okay performance that she won't actually admit she was in, as well as the fact that they need to have something recognizable from whoever's watching's youth. The parents are more likely to sit through it with their kids and get those billion seats in if they recognize, oh, the Smurfs. So it's in some ways the fact that the problem is the money, in that the budget has increased so exponentially because we don't go to see hand-drawn movies anymore, because hand-drawn movies don't sell anymore. It seems more popular, more important, or more interesting to adults and more appealing to adults if we see animated movies. We saw this a little bit with Tangled and in Princess and the Frog, since Princess and the Frog didn't sell as well, partially because it was hand-drawn, and CG is not cheap. These animated movies, and getting ourselves out of that uncanny valley isn't cheap. And so, yes, long drawn-out explanation. I think that's money is part of the problem, so we need to make sure the shareholders get their money back, and we need to do a familiar franchise. Because, look at the amount of animated movies that, have gone by under our noses over the years that have had, $100 million budget from some indie company and have been an original concept, but they have been panned because they cannot match the quality level of Pixar or Disney, and we have such high standards. So yeah.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and I guess it's just kind of, it's like, technically speaking, this Green Eggs and Ham show could be anything. Obviously it's not going to be 13 episodes of Sam I Am getting offered ham or whatever, or the Sam I Am do the ham offering. I will not eat it, Sam I Am. Oh, Sam I Am's the one that offers the ham, right? But like, obviously we're not going to get 13 episodes of that, right? So, right, guys?
Well, I'm thinking it might end up like Carmen Sandiego, where I think that's the ideal scenario, Carmen Sandiego on Netflix, because they put a kind of an original spin on that and flesh out the character. And it could be that we suddenly get to know the backstory of Sam I Am and how he started in a ninja organization and eventually went on to giving out ham and green eggs to random people on the street,
Is it gonna be just like a weird like origin thing where like every episode there's like a wraparound segment with him offering the ham, and then like each individual like line from the book gets its own backstory episode, like why are the eggs green?
It
like
wasn't
where's the ham come
always
from?
like this back in the day. This is what I did to give out green eggs and ham. This was my life before this today.
This is how I came to own the boat that I'm offering you the ham on.
Then in the last episode, they cross over with the Lorax and realize that industrial farming is causing the eggs and it's killing the environment.
Oh, no. No, but I guess the point I was just making is just like, well, if they're not just going to like literally copy the book, which, I hope not. at a certain point, just because it has the name Dr. Seuss attached to it or has the name of the book, how much is it, like, what is to say that it's not original? And it might totally be. I guess it's just, I'm just so jaded because you see so much of this that it's overwhelming, where it's like, where's the ideas? Where's the originality? Where's building something from the ground up?
I think it's interesting because we know in our society we do not have a shortage of original ideas. I know that may sound crazy when we see our theaters, but think of all your friends and stuff who said, "Oh, I've got this great idea for a book. It's about this and this," and you'll get something really creative and original. But what it ends up being is always something nowadays which the shareholders will agree to greenlight and put the money into, which is something they'll know they'll get their money back on, which is something we've seen before. So often those original ideas are twisted and turned into something like what we might see with, I keep coming back to Carmen Sandiego, but I think it's a really good example of the ideal scenario of what's happening now, of everything happening before. In order for us to get to press on that Netflix button and say, "Oh, I recognize that from my youth," we need to actually have that familiarity, but we then get originality inserted into it and kind of a modern take on things. And in some ways, I think it's beautiful the way people are adapting to the times by that. We're seeing people, take their own ideas and compromise them a little bit so we can all enjoy them and actually click on the thing so we can actually get that attention,
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't ever want to come off as too cynical. It's just, I don't know. It's like, it's the opposite reaction. It's a marketing tool to get me excited, but because I've seen so many of these stupid marketing tools to get me excited, I just have the opposite reaction. Like, really, when you tease something like this, where they really have nothing at all to show, all they have is that, well, this is connected to something that already exists. And so you're either going to say, "Wow, I love that thing. I want more of it. I want something else, another version of it." Or you're going to be like me, where it's like, "Oh, all right, well, it's a known quantity." You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it has the opposite effect sometimes.
I was going to say, I think in a bell curve, though, you're probably the outlier. You're the part of the graph that the shareholders don't care about because, we're critiquing, we're tearing them apart, and the critics and the Rotten Tomatoes scores aren't always, what they're aiming at, as long as they get that large majority in the middle, and who don't really dissect and say, "Well, is this original? Is this going to teach me something new?" It's just, "Hey, what looks good on tonight? What can I watch with my friend, or what can I watch while I'm cooking dinner?"
Mm-hmm. It is worrying that if this is the trend that we're taking, how far will it go? Are we going to reach a point where in 10 years, nothing will ever be launched without that recognizability? Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's scary. Like, I see your point, and I think, when it comes together, when someone can meld their own vision with something that's already existed and something that they cared about to create something, a new version, I think that can be very beautiful. But it is, like, scary that, well, if the trend is pushing where, companies know they can make money just by attaching a name to it, just by attaching a franchise to it, why would they ever do anything else? And that's like the scary thing.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's having that sense of security and not wanting to take risks and have the potential of losing money.
But the flip thing is that you're never gonna, well, generally speaking, you're not gonna get a SpongeBob SquarePants out of a rebooted idea. My Little Pony did happen, yes, but more often than not, things that are already attached, they might have critical praise, they might be great shows, but they don't have the cultural touchstone, generally speaking. Again, My Little Pony is the exception. My Little Pony, I feel like a big part of that is the fact that all the other My Little Pony stuff before it was basically like really, really dumb preschool grade stuff, whereas this one is more of an original thing with ponies than anything else. But yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, is that you don't get these. But hey, according to what Nickelodeon, the president is saying, he doesn't necessarily care about having a show that has like 8 seasons and is like beloved and whatever. He's just interested in catching what's now.
Can I read what he said?
Yeah, go for it. You wrote this up last week and you forgot to read it.
Okay, yeah. So the new guy in charge of Nickelodeon, I believe his name is Brian Robbins, said, and quote, The cable model was a rinse and repeat model. Today we live in a binge viewing world. Give me a fresh show. Give me another fresh show. I want to watch it, eat it up, and go on to the next show. What used to be okay was having 1 or 2 hits, then making a zillion episodes of them, and then repeating them. That was enough to satisfy the kid audience because they didn't have choice. I think today we need to make a volume of quality franchises, but not necessarily feed 1,000,000 episodes of those shows. We need to keep a constant number of new shows coming and not necessarily make one show with 80 episodes. So, in other words, he's saying we need to make a bunch of shows, but not necessarily have them run for a long time.
That doesn't
Which isn't
on paper sound like such a bad thing.
No, I agree. But when you look at what's actually happening, what the stuff he's announced, it 100% the context shifts from being like, let's not make 1,000,000 SpongeBob's where things run past their expiry date, run for many more episodes than they were ever designed to run for. Instead, it looks like he's saying, well, let's just not invest too much into anything. Let's just throw any stupid, weird idea at the wall. And it's like, I'm all for experimentation. I totally am. And when something experiments and is terrible, at least I give them the credit that they experimented. Doesn't save it from being terrible, but you get the credit there. There was ambition behind it. But when you just throw these, like, here's a reality show, here's a hidden camera prank show, let's do another YouTube adaptation. That's not like a concrete plan for your network. That's just like throwing anything at the wall. And it just doesn't seem to have any sort of vision behind it.
It sounds like the model, I hate to say it, of not all, but a lot of popular YouTube channels is that just throw crap at the wall until they work. And I wonder if that business model is this is how they interpret the functioning business model of what works nowadays.
Well, I mean, the guy he was one of the creators of Awesomeness TV.
Ugh.
So.
Oh God. I guess, sorry, if I may just interject for you on Pieguy. I think
go for it.
I don't fully blame the Nickelodeon network because I look at something like Harvey Beaks, which was fully what we want in terms of experimentation. It was something brand new, well animated. It was a little bit like Gumball and having different sort of contrast of animation, but it didn't quite work, and it certainly didn't get the attention of children as much as they would have liked. And
right.
I feel they poured a lot of money into that show, and it failed. And one of my favorite cartoons of all time, Legend of Korra, I don't believe that as well, particularly in the later seasons, got the attention of many of the younger viewers. I think it got the attention of teen viewers, but I don't think it had that wide enough appeal. So I don't blame them. I think it's kind of sad because it's a reflection. All of this stuff is not a reflection of people being stupid. It's a reflection of our society and how we interpret information and how stuff is marketed nowadays and what actually will get attention. And I'm sorry, it's a long rambly rant, but it's just such a complicated subject, isn't it?
I mean, yeah, and I don't want to dwell on this too much because we did talk about it a lot last week, but it does feel it feels very much like Nickelodeon is trying to be YouTube in the sense that it doesn't okay, so this stupid reality prank show where a celebrity dresses up like a teacher and goes to a classroom. That sounds like a YouTube prank, like a YouTube video. Like I said this to Monsters last week, just that there was that one video where this girl on the street recognized the pizza YouTube reviewer but didn't recognize all the celebrities standing around her. I feel like that's the thing that they were like, oh yeah, let's do that. That's what it feels. I mean, in some cases, literally they're taking a YouTube unboxing kid and giving him a TV show. That's what it feels like. And it's like, you have the means to make animation, good, long form animation with professionals. I mean, not that the animation on YouTube is bad, the Domics and everything, they do great work, but you have a chance to do something on a scale that we can't really see on YouTube, but instead you're going to give us YouTube grade reality schlock content that just, but to your point, it just John Cena in a dress and a wig pretending to be Miss Francine, kindergarten class teacher or something, is a stupid idea that's going to get attention and is going to promote well and is going to maybe get a news article written about it and will draw in viewers somehow. you know?
It does, because we're talking about it and we remember it, and it's frustrating because, like, this is the stuff that outrage, like we see on much of YouTube, outrage can be just as powerful in terms of publicity as saying, oh, that was really powerful and that touched me, or that was actually original interesting. And I don't know if original has the same marketing power it once did, which is, God, I'm a real cynical twit today on this. I apologize.
It's contagious. I'm sorry.
Yeah. And Strider, you brought up a good point with Harvey Beaks and Legend of Korra, but at the same time, I feel like although viewership numbers weren't great, I feel like in both of those instances, Nickelodeon on the corporate level was partially to blame just due to their lack of marketing and poor techniques with trying to get those series out there.
Right, but I will say that Harvey Beaks and Legend of Korra, I don't feel like those were both ever shows that were going to be a huge hit with Nick's core audience. I think Korra could have been a big hit elsewhere, and I think Harvey Beaks was a fine show, but Harvey Beaks was not flashy enough to really, even if Nick gave it the proper love and care, I think it could have ran for like a respectable 4 seasons or something like that. I think it could have been a nice support show for the network, kind of like We Bare Bears is on Cartoon Network.
True.
Right? Like, I feel like that's where it could have been. So I do think that Nickelodeon did screw both of those shows, but I don't think it's fair to say if Nickelodeon didn't interfere, these both would be mega hits right now.
Yeah, no, that's true.
All right, you guys ready to move on?
Ready when you are.
All right. So, speaking of long-running shows, our question of the week comes from Welcome to the Dump on Discord. Yeah, great name. To the dump. Who says, beyond the obvious choices, SpongeBob, Simpsons, Family Guy, and FOP, Fairly Odd Parents, what animated show has the worst case of seasonal rot?
Of what? Seasonal rot?
Seasonal rot. So if you don't know in the audience, seasonal rot is generally like a term for a show that kind of like gets worse each season, like typically around like the 4th or 5th season and onwards. Like, it gets worse to the point where it maybe even gets like completely awful. Flanderization is closely tied to this, or one of the elements.
I hate that term because I still like Flanders. In fact, I kind of like him more than the start of the series. What does the guy have to do more to make people happy? Like, he's lost 2 wives and is still a decent guy. Like, what more does he need to do?
Well, I don't think the term Flanderization was strictly used in a negative sense, but...
Oh, that's true.
I mean, in Flanders' case, it really isn't. And in some other shows, like turning the characters into cartoon characters really worked for them. But, yeah. Do you guys have any answers for this one?
I've been mulling on it. I mean, obviously the first thing that comes to mind, but as they already said, is The Simpsons. I feel... Some people would argue Futurama got a little bit of seasonal rot, but I would argue the creators really tried hard to keep it fresh. But that being said, I do still find myself more nostalgic for some of Season 1 episodes than Season 5, as some of the Season 5 episodes got cringy. So just off the top of my head, just a very old show technically, but some people would argue there's some seasonal rot in there, and I would actually argue there's some seasonal rebirth in SpongeBob right now, because... of the new season, when I was watching it, even though there was rot sort of around the season 11 period, and so on and so forth, I laugh hard at every episode I've watched so far. I feel SpongeBob has kind of a new take that has been evolved over 10 to 20 years, and I like how Squidward will partake more like he used to in season 1 in some of SpongeBob antics and kind of just go along for the ride. I remember one episode where he ends up being the brother of Squidward and SpongeBob, or where they take part in this game that's been a sort of Olympic game that Squidward made up, and they end up just playing. He teaches them how to play it wrong. So that ends up being how he's made out to be the bad guy. It can be so absurd, but I feel they've really found that perfect balance in the new season. And I haven't watched all the new episodes, but certainly the ones I've watched I've enjoyed so far. So certainly seasonal rebirth for that one for me.
So I don't know. The thing that springs to my mind is Adventure Time. Although I also feel like that one kind of went through rebirth after season 6.
Adventure Time, that's a complicated one, that one, yeah.
Well, Adventure Time is 100% a show, however you feel about it, that basically kind of changed every season, like went towards a direction, and it wasn't a direction that I loved. It was a direction that some people loved. Cerberus syndrome would be the trope for Adventure Time.
What's that
good
mean?
or bad? Oh, it's typically when like a show starts out kind of goofy and wacky, and then as time goes on, like these darker elements inch in until eventually the show has like this really like, you know, could get dark and edgy and like, you know, whatever. It's I'm trying to think of some other good examples, but Adventure Time is one that definitely got darker and got more serious and less comedic as time went on.
It also got so much more abstract. It lost its appeal to a wider audience to the point where even I lost interest for quite a long while, and it became so connected to each episode that if you missed a single episode, you don't know how this character got there, and it gets so complicated. And I hate to say it, but it got very pretentious at times to me because
that's my feeling. That's what I've always said. The line between like truly deep, beautiful art and pretentious, like I am 12 and this is deep, is a very thin line. And yeah,
I just think Adventure Time's a really good example because like I think it's a show that I would still say is very powerful, very artistic, and very good, and we need more of it. Like, but I don't know if it'd sell well in this day and age. I do not think it would have been greenlit by Cartoon Network if it didn't start like 5-10 years ago now, because you look at some of those episodes and they're so abstract. You're just like, how is a kid meant to take interest in it? And they've specifically targeted almost that adult audience that is interested in this abstract cartoon stuff, which is still quite niche, you know?
Yeah. So this is not a cartoon example, but sitcoms suffer from this a lot. Like a lot. Like almost every sitcom. One of the really bad examples is How I Met Your Mother, which became a weird, just, oh God, that show, it's so stupid. I can't even say guilty pleasure because I enjoyed like the first few seasons, but like at a certain point, that show's premise was never made to have as many seasons as it did. And the characters got really one note and stupid, and they really regressed them, especially in the very last season and the last episode. I won't say too much, but if you're looking at starting a series that you want to have like a very cool, happy conclusion, don't watch How I Met Your Mother. And then also, hey, for a nice little hot take one, I'd also say Phineas and Ferb.
Ooh.
I wouldn't say that it got like rotten to the core or anything, but I will say that the show has, I mean, it's not a secret that the show is very, I guess, iterative, like is the word for it, maybe meta. Iterative in the sense that like it's recursive, like it's very much about setting up these patterns and referencing these patterns, and I feel like there's a certain point at which like it starts out and it gets kind of clever, more clever, and then you hit a peak, and then like after maybe seeing 100 episodes or 50 episodes or whatever of it, is a certain point where it's just kind of like, okay, it's not really clever anymore. I'm just literally watching the same thing over and over again with like a different can of paint on it. Like
it's not meant to as built for the modern age of as the Nickelodeon executive said, binge watching, because I had a similar situation where I watched it on Netflix, and I loved it for the first probably 10 episodes. I mean, particularly Doofenshmirtz and the what was it, a beaver? I should know that. Sorry.
Oh, Perry the Platypus.
Perry the Platypus, and like those characters were so great, but by the end, I was really sick of Phineas and Ferb and their one-note personalities of like, we're geniuses, we can do whatever we want, and it's just like they have no personality. And like I think even the creators realize this as they start, the focus it may as well be called Perry the Platypus and Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
It's not even. I mean, we'll talk about this. Never mind. I'll save my point for later. But yeah, no. I don't think that the show ever got terrible, and it is not like a crazy long runner, thankfully. But I feel like the show never really got past that point of like, we're gonna reference ourselves over and over again. Like it never grew into anything else. I guess that's what I'd say. And the attempt that they tried to do that with the Alka Files or whatever. Oh God, please don't watch that. Monsters, give your example.
I wrote down Adventure Time and Futurama.
All right. So you ready to move on?
Well, do you have any points to make on what we said already, Monsters, in terms of Adventure Time and Futurama?
Not really. With Futurama, it was more like, I think it experienced seasonal rot to some extent, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of that was just due to the very sudden switch from Fox to Comedy Central.
You know, that I never even thought of that, but that is a very good point. As it feels the tone of some of the jokes changed to something I found a lot more of the jokes felt unpleasant to me. And I know maybe it sounds odd, but I do find a lot more controversial humor that I don't enjoy on Comedy Central. I wonder if that had anything to do with it.
They went raunchier. Oh yeah. No, they went raunchier.
Yeah, I mean, like, there was more, yeah.
Oh yeah. To point out like a very specific example, it's like Loves Leela's Lost in Space or something. I don't know. It's like the third episode back, and it's about Zap Brannigan and Leela being trapped on what they think is a planet, and Zap trying to trick her into like having kids so that they can It's so dumb and insulting. Like, it really is. It's not a great episode. Zap Brannigan is funny in like one-liners, but like having to spend extended periods of time with him is, oof.
It's funny because I never thought of that before, because it was a series that started my channel, so I've thought about Futurama a lot. And when I think back to those later episodes, ones like that you just brought up, like Zap Brannigan, yeah, you don't want to rewatch those. I don't get the urge to rewatch them because it's just unpleasant to see, you know, a guy being stomped on and being a jerk and trying to use a woman. That's not funny to me when using people isn't that funny. I really enjoy an episode where they're, you know, it's a take on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, or they're, you know, trying to be roommates together and they end up, you know, one wants to live in a closet and there's differences, but there's still a good feel to it. And I guess this is the whole crux of part of my character, is I like that good feel in shows. And a lot of the later seasons, because of perhaps Comedy Central, did not have that pleasant feel. It's like, that's just my take, though. I know some people like that sort of stuff. Sorry, it's just, yeah.
No, you're fine. Like I said, I find that episode to be really reprehensible. All right, so moving on. Next week. Oh, it's a big one. It's the big one, Monsters.
It's the big one.
It's the big 3-0. So remember all those many years ago in the 20th episode when we were we were gonna talk about Into the Spider-Verse. It's gonna be a big deal.
Well, it started in the Nintendo episode.
Right. We told Nick, we were like, no, Nick, you can't. You're not allowed to talk about this here. We're saving it. It's gonna be a big feature for the 20th episode. It's like an amazing animated film. We're gonna do this then. Sorry, Nick, get out of here. I'm sorry, Nick. But and then that week came around and we didn't talk about it because Kuro was sick. And then we were thinking maybe we'd do it like the next week, but Kuro was like still not feeling well and it's having computer problems and like all this other stuff. And then by like the next time that we were together, or we were talking with Kuro or Shadow or whatever, like Spider-Verse had been like out of theaters, or, you know, we hadn't seen it in a while. And it's like, it doesn't really feel right to, I don't know, to talk about it when it's been so long since we've seen it. So we figured, all right, we'll do it for the big 30th episode. Well, it turns out that the DVD release wasn't going to come out until like 2 weeks after the 30th episode. So we were like, all right, we have, and I won't say the other ideas because they're gonna be either anniversary episodes or community casts or just other episodes, but we had other ideas. We're gonna go with this. And then it turns out that even though the DVD and Blu-ray are releasing 2 weeks after, ahead of time being released is the digital version, which I'm gonna be able to we're gonna be able to watch on that. And I'm being really long-winded. Basically, we're gonna do the 30th recast on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And it's not just going to be like what we watched in the week or whatever. That's going to be the feature presentation. And we're going to compare it to, Monsters, give me a drum roll. Spider-Man Homecoming.
Ooh, people are going to be surprised.
Yep, I saw some people recommending we do like the 90s animated show because they
Spectacular Spider-Man.
Well, that's not 90s, but yeah.
That too.
You're listing, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the whole like Spider-Verse and like the alternate universes and multiple Spider-Men, like that's not a like new concept. That's been around in the comics. That's been around since like the Clone Saga, although they're not in the same way. And don't talk about the Clone Saga. But the reason why I wanted to do this is because they're both really like critically loved Spider-Man movies from the past like 2 years. And they're very different takes on Spider-Man, but also what I found really interesting is they both have a very similar mentor relationship between the protagonist and an older, more jaded superhero. So yes, it's a live action show or live action movie. So, you know, no one freak out. We did do Reanimated, and technically speaking, Homecoming has quite a bit of CG in it. So really, it's like it's like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. It's a hybrid, basically. Wink.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we're gonna be doing that. It should be a pretty good blowout, and we got some other special things planned for the 30th episode that I haven't even told Monsters about. So, wow.
Ooh.
Yep.
Now I'm excited. Because I wasn't already. No, I'm joking.
Oh. Well, yeah, Monsters has a very controversial opinion on Spider-Verse.
Great. Okay.
His controversial opinion is that Penny Parker's his favorite.
Who is that? Is she the anime girl?
Yes.
No, my favorite was Spider Noir.
Save it for next week.
Okay.
Nick Cage.
We gotta find the Declaration of Independence.
On the back of the spider web.
Yeah.
Hi, PhantomStrider. How you doing?
Sorry, I haven't seen the film, so I can't. I didn't want to interject. You guys know a lot more than I do.
No, it's fine. I just felt bad that you had to sit here listening to our shtick. Okay. Okay, so we have our episode comparison for this week, which is Phineas and Ferb, the first episode, Rollercoaster, and the last episode of the animated series. Oh wait, JK, it's only like season 2, even though it's like a big continuity cavalcade of craziness that references the first episode you think would happen later in the series. Rollercoaster the musical. So this is one of those comparisons like Monkey See Doggy 2 and what was the one with Teen Titans? What was that called?
Oh, Employee of the Month?
Employee of the Month, yeah, where basically the second episode is just like a souped up version of the first episode. So instead of our usual like talk about one then talk about the other, we'll probably be mixing both in at the same time. But just to give an overview, Rollercoaster is about Phineas and Ferb celebrating a lazy summer day, but instead deciding to build a roller coaster. And meanwhile, Candace is trying to get their mom to see that they're building a roller coaster. Meanwhile, Perry the Platypus is trying to thwart Doofenshmirtz's plan to put tinfoil all over everything and polarize magnets. He doesn't actually even have a plan, really. That's not even, I'm not even kidding. It just doesn't. He's just like, I don't know, something will follow. So about the original episode, what are you guys' general thoughts?
Oh, it's, I barely remember that episode. I just really strongly remember. The problem with me with Phineas and Ferb is that a lot of the Phineas and Ferb stuff is a haze. I remember in the musical, I felt like the musical parts are really well put together. They rhymed really well, but all I really strongly remember was the Perry the Platypus and Doofenshmirtz bit where he just starts putting tinfoil at everything.
Well, so what I was going to say earlier was just that the interesting thing about Phineas and Ferb, and I think the writers definitely realized this, not in the first episode, but going maybe by the second, really Phineas, Ferb, and Perry are not really interesting characters. I mean, Perry's funny as like a meme, but like they're not interesting. Like they're just kind of great at what they do, and 2 out of 3 of them don't talk. So the show really is about Candace and Doofenshmirtz. Those are the interesting characters. They're ironically like the antagonists. It's kind of like the Daffy Duck, like Bugs Bunny thing, where Daffy is like, I don't want to say he's more interesting than Bugs Bunny, but he's a little more interesting than Bugs Bunny, or at least
Bugs Bunny is like a Zen, and the problem is, I was thinking about this recently, Zens don't actually do very well and aren't remembered very well because they're Zen. They don't have complications and as much relatability because, you know, Bugs Bunny has nothing to say. He knows who he is and what he needs to do, and he's got everything sort of worked out in his head. And Daffy, on the other hand, is incredibly insecure, needs to prove himself, and you could argue, you can see this in YouTube too, when they need to prove themselves, when they've got so much to say and yell out, like Daffy, then that's going to be more memorable in some ways. Though I don't think that completely applies to Bugs Bunny. And in the case of Phineas and Ferb, there's no relatability because they're smart. And, like, not because they're smart, but because they're perfect, basically. There's nothing they need to do to prove. And he's so, like... I would have liked to see him actually have some sort of a little bit of flirtation or at least some vulnerability in front of the girl that likes him. Because he's oblivious, I've seen that in harem anime since I was 15, and it's not that funny to me. It's just boring.
Well, so what I will say is that in the first episode in Rollercoaster, I feel like they gave Phineas a lot more of. I don't. This is gonna, man. I'm gonna upset some Phineas and Ferb fans who requested this episode of the recast, but I feel like Phineas had a more interesting character starting out because he was kind of snarky. Like he wasn't like a 3-dimensional or anything like that, but he had this edge to him, like like I don't really care what Candace is up to, or like he kind of have these one-liners, like not Bugs Bunny, but.
Oh yeah, like the part where where she was like, "What are you guys doing?" He was like, "We're doing homework. It's the summertime." Well, we're gonna get a step ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, and I feel like that little character flaw / snarkiness does kind of give him a little more personality. Whereas in the second episode, you could tell by then he just kind of is perfect Phineas.
The edges have just been smoothed out into this completely boring oval that, doesn't react to anything Candace says. It's just the simple Disney sort of very, very basic, oh, well, that's okay, we're going to do this. And, I feel like everyone around him is who we're meant to kind of pay attention to, and it's a bit like the Harry Potter scenario in some ways, though I actually found Harry Potter more interesting than Phineas and Ferb. It's just...
I wonder, like, why it is, because originally, I mean, you could see the remnant of this in the theme song when they're painting a mustache on Candace's picture. Originally, they were supposed to be a little more, like, mischievous and have, like, a little bit more of a rivalry with Candace. I wonder if, like, they just decided it was funnier if they Phineas and Ferb, like, literally didn't care at all about getting caught or whatever, and it was all it was all in like, I think that is a little funnier, but I feel like not having, like, a strong relationship or a strong interaction between Candace and her brothers, it does kind of make it a little, like, flatter.
Well, if Phineas and Ferb were more mischievous, then, like, maybe you'd feel more bad for Candace, but, like,
yeah.
I don't think you're supposed to.
She does it to herself, and
right.
I think that's what makes it
She's
work.
Delusional.
Yeah. Well, she's not. She's right.
Well, she appears as delusional, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny with Candace because in some ways she's actually one of my favorite characters, but when I did Worst Cartoon Characters years ago, a lot of people cited her as one of the worst characters. I was like, really? I like her.
Really?
And she feels misguided, and you're just like, oh, don't worry about it, just let them do their thing. And even the mother kind of reacts how the audience would, in that she's like, yes, Candace. So, like, she doesn't go, oh, you're grounded, young lady, for telling on your brothers. It's like, no, it's just it's there, and it's just, you don't want her to react badly because you don't want to see Candace hurt, or because you feel sorry for her because she is right, and you just want to see them get busted once,
Mm-hmm. And it's funny that we did mention, like, Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny, because that is kind of like, she is the Daffy Duck of the show, essentially. And she is misguided in the sense that, I don't know, she just wants her brothers in trouble for, like, no particular reason. But, like, I found that those to be the funniest segments in both episodes, where like Candace's mom is just like, hey, you want to go yell at Cheese, honey? And she's like, yes, mom. like that's just a good, like, non sequitur random thing. Or, like, she's like, because of this, and then she's like, you're shouting at a blank wall. Like, and she's like, yes. Like, I don't know, though, I found those to be the most genuinely funny parts of both of the episodes.
Yeah, I'd agree, yeah. I didn't remember much of the musical and them creating... It's funny, all the interesting visuals go into Phineas and Ferb making their crazy roller coaster, or their giant diner in between cars and stuff, but yet the parts I remember the most is always Doofenshmirtz and Candace, and that tends to be sort of like the least visually interesting parts, and not so much Doofenshmirtz, but certainly in the case of Candace, because I'm actually invested and interested in Candace. I'm even interested in her her relationship with her boyfriend, you know, and how that goes along. And like when she gets a little story where she has to run in these super fast shoes to get everything done, that actually intrigued me so much more than Phineas and Ferb.
Right. Well, she has flaws and she has a character.
Yes,
like
she has flaws.
I just don't feel like Phineas and Ferb are much of characters. I'm so sorry to the people that like Phineas and Ferb. I'm not. I don't really like. I don't dislike the show. I like it kind of, but it's just like I like it in small doses. So Rollercoaster the musical, if like you haven't seen it, it is literally everything we just said about the first episode to the point where they reuse clips. Yay. And I can tell you how I know they reused clips in a second, but it's basically that, but there's music and they stretched it out to 22 minutes because that's what this story needs. I noticed that they reused clips because in the second episode, like in the first one, it's basically Phineas, Ferb, Isabella, and a bunch of random background kids that we never see again. But in the Rollercoaster the musical, they actually have Baljeet, they have Buford, and then they have basically the rest of the seats are just filled up with the scouts, the Girl Scouts, and every so often they'll cut to a clip like a far away from the roller coaster, and you'll notice that it's just the random background kids again. Like at the end when it's all the kids climbing out of the tree, it's all those background kids that weren't on the roller coaster in most shots. They reused shots, and it's just like I feel like they had to make, like, they only had the budget to make an 11-minute episode, but they had to somehow squeeze it into 22 minutes. Maybe they were being threatened with having to do a clip show or something, and so they decided, well, we've got only so much material. Let's pad out this story with music numbers and fan service.
Well, I'd say it's kind of tasteful. Like, I think it kind of equals out in the sense that there's all of these elaborate dance numbers with a lot of animation and different backgrounds, so to sparsely see a little bit of reused animation, especially more towards the end than in the beginning, didn't affect me as much.
Oh. But here's the thing, and this is the discussion that we had with Monkey See Doggy too. Like, I don't feel like they played enough with the concept of redoing an episode, right? They put music in, and the music numbers, they range from, I was not a fan of Doofenshmirtz's whatever the heck that was, to, okay, that's pretty catchy. But they don't play around with it. A lot of Doofenshmirtz's dialogue is just literally dialogue from the first episode. Like, why don't Doofenshmirtz is self-aware, like, or I mean, they usually write these characters to be like, make these meta self-aware jokes about having done the same things a million times over. I mean, they do make the joke that it's now an nader because that running gag wasn't invented by the first episode, I guess. But otherwise, it's like, really, Doofenshmirtz is not going to acknowledge, like, he's not going to make a bunch of jokes about how, like, the joke is that he's using an electromagnet instead of a regular magnet. Like, it just doesn't vary it up enough, to me, anyway.
Well, we kind of also made this argument in the Monkey See Doggy Do podcast as well, but, like, do you feel like some of that repetition adds to it? The fact that they're so stupid that they're literally doing the same thing over again?
No, because this is just clips. This is just the clips inserted, right? At least Doggy 2 has the excuse that it literally is Mojo showing a videotape of what happened. I mean, there's clips inserted in that one too, but I don't know. I feel like it's not as self-aware as it really should be. And also, I like, this is a weird, why would you do this in the second season? Like you feel like this sort of like, let's bring back the first pilot episode or whatever. Like, let's do that. Like, you feel like that'd be like a, I don't know, like a big milestone or something, like almost at the end of the second season, really? All right. I don't know.
With the first episode, I remember seeing it very vividly right after High School Musical 2 premiered.
Oh, here we go, yep.
They were having a little bit of a preview, and this is the episode they showed, and I got hooked to it afterwards, but I remember on the first Phineas and Ferb DVD, they had an animatic of this episode, the one that Dan Povenmire pitched to Disney Channel. And he voices all of the characters in it. It's a little bit different than the final product, but it's really funny. And you can also tell in this episode that Phineas's voice is like noticeably higher than it is in the rest of the series. I guess his voice actor must have hit puberty or something, but
he sounds more like a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that. His pitch does vary a little bit throughout the season, and I actually don't mind that. It's a bit like Kingdom Hearts. You'll notice that as well pretty soon, Pieguy, as you go through the series.
Oh, no.
But that authenticity of having an actual teenager is, you don't mind if their voice goes a bit because, you know it's an actual teenager and you can kind of tell.
Yeah, Adventure Time made good use of that.
Steven Universe is kind of dealing with that, right?
Yeah,
No.
very much so.
I mean, yes, and that the voice actor grew up, but it's not like it was his normal voice, and then he hit I don't know. It was weird, but that's a long time ago at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was having trouble for a while there because he was going through those changes, and but he adapted to it pretty quick. And there's just sort of this zone in a couple of episodes where you're like, wait, why was that pitch there? And I think that was just sort of as he was adjusting.
Yeah.
I think in terms of this being a pilot episode, it does a good job of just kind of establishing the series, because they establish that it's summer. They kind of set up the whole, Candace is trying to bust Phineas and Ferb. They do something elaborate, and she's trying to convince their mom. They establish Stacy and Jeremy without them even being on screen. That changes in the musical episode. But they do that, and they also establish the Perry the Platypus thing well with Dr. Doofenshmirtz, and kind of showing that he's kind of this really weird, mad, insane guy that doesn't have a lot of money, but is, clearly trying to do something that'll give him notoriety and power.
He gets monthly checks from his ex-wife. No,
Perry the Platypus.
Does he take... He looks after his daughter, right? And, that's why he gets the monthly checks. I like that.
Well, it's weird because...
That might be alimony, I don't know.
Alimony.
Alimony is not child support checks.
Yeah, that's different.
She made a lot more money than him, is what alimony means.
Yeah.
I guess technically he probably is listed as unemployed. What is he gonna do? List that he's an evil... Well, maybe.
He probably would. He'd be very proud to announce that.
Yeah, and then the place would be like, oh, it's not on the list of official jobs, so you're unemployed. I mean, I don't know that I'd say that Perry the Platypus is properly explained in the first episode, but
he's not explained.
No, but the surrealness is a part of it. Yeah. I actually do remember seeing this as well. Not that I watched High School Musical, but that's getting a show. Hey, did you guys hear about that?
Yeah. Yep. And they're also doing a nationwide casting search for that too.
But anyway, I think it is an okay pilot. I think it does do a good job of setting up a few things. I don't think it's I wasn't hooked at the time, and I wouldn't be hooked now. I think I'd be like, oh, I'll keep that show on my radar. Not I gotta binge the rest of this series. So I think it's okay, but I don't think it's one of those pilots that comes out the gate and you're like, wow, it's not a Futurama pilot.
Yeah, and like with most pilots, you can tell that there's a clear difference in kind of the tone and writing style between the pilot and later on in the series, especially with them focusing more on trying to have an original song in each episode.
Yeah, they don't have one in the original.
Yeah,
which is noticeable. So Rollercoaster. So what did you guys think about the songs in Rollercoaster the musical?
My favorite one was Hey Ferb. The other ones were kind of okay, I guess, but they were very much they were based. I don't know if this was an in joke or not, but they're very much based on a single idea or phrase, and then just kind of expanded upon that.
Yeah, it's this whole I don't know, the satire about musicals have songs about wacky things, but it's I've never been to a musical where they made a song about a stapler. I don't know. I don't know what musicals these people are watching. They made a joke about this on an episode of Bob's Burgers I watched the other day, where it's I don't know, I don't even remember what it was, but it was some weird non sequitur random thing, the musical.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm
they have a song called What You Doing, and they have a song called Mom Look.
It's it is funny that they basically did turn all of their recurring gags into songs. That's essentially what it is,
Ferb,
right?
Yeah.
Hey Ferb was good. Isabella's song was nice as well. All the rest of them, yeah, it's this is okay, but I don't think they're top tier Phineas and Ferb music, and especially considering it's called Rollercoaster the Musical, I would have expected them to bring maybe more of an A game. They very much went for big show tunesy numbers, but they don't.
Yeah.
They don't. I don't know. I feel like they didn't. I don't know. They went kind of parody with it when they should have maybe gotten a little more genuine.
Yeah, the songs in here are not among my favorites.
And I don't like that Doofenshmirtz song. I don't know who thought Doofenshmirtz singing I don't know, what was that? Was that metal? I'm not a music person. I'm also incredibly white, so no, but whatever that was, yeah, no, it's not. I didn't like it. I wanted a Perry song. Oh no. Yeah, that's it. I wanted a Perry song, a song where it was just him gurgling or something. I don't know.
At the end was funny though, where she's like, "I have to go pick my kid up from school," and he's like, "Wait until it goes to black." And then it goes to black.
What were you gonna say, PhantomStrider?
Oh, I was binge watching the episodes at the time, and I found those parts were the songs I was actually skipping over, and particularly when Doofenshmirtz came out with his song. And as much as I love Doofenshmirtz, for that one, I was like, yeah, let's see what the next episode's like, because I don't know, the songs aren't my favorite part, even though they are, definite B pluses and good quality, and they're not cringeworthy or anything, but some of the songs particularly in that episode, as you said, didn't leave much of an impact. Some I really liked. Like, I still remember Candace's Giving Up song. I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It's just, that was a really good one, I thought. Yeah, and some do leave an impact, and yeah, I would expect higher quality, as you said, for the roller coaster episode.
You can't forget about squirrels in my pants.
S-I-M-P.
Oh goodness.
Yeah, some of the characters seem aware that like this already happened. Like I know that Major Monogram seems to reference it a lot, and I know that you said that you don't remember Doof doing it too much, but he did mention at the end. He was like, "Oh, so what was I doing at this point? I was sitting here. Perry the Platypus leaves, and then there's a giant ball, and then he just gets hit, and then does the curse you, Perry the Platypus." Like,
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I've been watching too much of Monkey See Doggy too, but I really, really wanted Doofenshmirtz to come out with like a big giant like metal boot on one of his feet, and then like Perry to just kick the thing into the other shoe or something, some joke about that. There's no, it happens in the exact same way, except there's a Doofenshmirtz musical number in there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, there's also the ending where it's like, oh God, let's reference every episode. Everyone.
All of the characters, all of the plots and schemes.
All the one-offs, all the robots, all the space floating head babies.
Meep.
Yeah. Yeah, they really went all, like, that's the thing. I mean, if you could say one thing about Phineas and Ferb, it's like they know how to reference themselves. Like, I didn't understand half of it because I haven't seen like the first season of the show in a while. But I could tell that these were all pretty deep cut references, or not deep cut, like not like obscure, but just in the sense that they referenced like everything. So that was cool, but kind of felt like padding. I don't know, man. I feel like I don't know why they would make. Aside from the fact that it's the first episode, I don't know why they would have picked that episode to do like a rehash of. I feel like, I don't know, there's better episodes or better ideas that they could have done. Or I feel like, I don't know, if they had used it as an excuse to really like from the ground up, not used any of the footage, not done anything except for just had the premise be they're going to build a roller coaster and they're going to make jokes about the fact that they did it before, but now they're going to do it bigger and better. Like, I feel like that could have been a really good episode. Maybe an episode about Phineas and Ferb trying to top themselves. Like, I feel like there's concepts in there because really it's just like they built almost the same roller coaster again. Like, okay, what's the point?
I don't know if we already brought this up, but it's just like, it's like the writers are like, crap, we realized, we have like a song in every episode, and because we didn't have one in the very first episode, we need to redo that episode but have like 20 songs in it.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was some perfectionist writer that was like, no, the first episode's not good enough. We need a better version.
Yeah.
I feel like that does happen though, where you see some of your old work and you're like, oh, I want to recreate that. And I feel like that's every writer's dream, is to redo some of, like, I can't watch, like, there are a lot of people that can't watch some of their old videos and writing and that sort of thing because, you can see all the flaws. And I feel like they would love that possibility to remake the pilot episode because they can improve upon it in what they see as improvements.
Yeah.
I was surprised at how much, just in kind of comparison to other rehashy episodes I've seen, I was kind of amazed at how much original animation there was. Like, really, there was a lot that combined it. You can tell where they reused it, but overall, I mean, you can say that this is 22 minutes and the other one's 11 minutes, but I do think that the second episode has a much higher production value overall.
Oh, well, obviously. I mean, it's not a pilot.
Yeah. And to kind of go on that more, I feel like, yeah, the only reason why it probably is 22 minutes is because there's so many songs, and, songs are kind of these extended one-off things. And
I mean, they could have just done the songs and just had it all be, like, all music and just not reused any clips.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I feel like there was probably some sort of mandated reason for this.
Then it'd be like an opera, Rollercoaster the opera.
Right.
Where it's not sung in an opera style, but everything is sung.
Right. Yeah. I've seen episodes like that. Come at me, kids next door. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. Phineas and Ferb has always been one of those franchises where it's just like, I like some parts of it. Like, I like episodes, and I'll watch it every so often, but I don't know. It never clicked with me in the way that it does click with other people, where there are some people that really love the show to the point where they were, for some reason, invested in Phineas and Isabella's love story, which I will never understand, but you people are great people, and I love you. Keep doing you, but I don't understand you.
I really did love this show, but I kind of stopped watching around the time when the movie came out. The one where it was like the duplicates, it was like across the second dimension or whatever.
Are you talking about the live action movie coming in 2028?
Oh, you're kidding.
Oh, no.
Am I, though?
How are they supposed to find someone that has, like, the head shape of Phineas?
Dude, I don't know. They found a blue person to play Draken, probably. I didn't watch it.
CGI Perry the Platypus?
Yeah. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, God. No, it's going to be... It's gonna be a CG live action hybrid where like the adults and Candace are human and Phineas and Ferb and Perry are all CG.
And they'll find some like celebrity guy to play Dr. Doofenshmirtz.
Yeah, and they'll get a celebrity to play Ferb.
Yeah.
It'll be like
Tom
I don't
Holland.
know.
This is a nightmare in my head. What you guys have built up.
and introducing Will Smith as Dr. Doofenshmirtz. Hey yo, what up, Perry the Platypus?
They make like a Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated rap.
Oh dear. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about the roller coaster episodes. Do you guys?
I've said my piece. Yeah.
Like I don't know. I find
I liked the Kenny Ortega in joke at the end because
you would.
Because he directed the High School Musical movies. He's a big name in kind of musicals in general, and plus he's worked with a bunch of people like what's her name, Ashley Tisdale, and a few of the other voice actors on the show. You know who? Are you a big High School Musical fan?
I was.
Oh no! Did you get your game on?
You mean get your head in the game?
Oh, sorry, that's you.
Yes, I did.
All right. Well, in my conclusion, I guess I will just say that I found both of these episodes to be okay. Like, I was not blown away by either of them in particular. And again, in terms of picking which is better, it comes down to that debate of like, would I prefer the original version or a version that is kind of like a souped up version of it? And I guess in this particular instance, I would pick Rollercoaster the Musical, if only because I'm not in love with the songs, but I think they're all right. And Hey Ferb is pretty solid. And it didn't necessarily feel like 22 minutes. It still kind of felt pretty brisk. So I it was kind of close, but I would pick Rollercoaster the Musical. How about you, Monsters?
This is a tough one for me because like each has their strengths and weaknesses. Because as a musical, I'd say Rollercoaster the Musical isn't a great musical, and the pilot does a really great job of establishing the series overall, in my opinion. But in terms of which one, I don't know. Like, I don't want to give it to the one that has the most theatrics, but I don't know. I think that Rollercoaster the Musical had it kind of played with the idea really well, and it's probably one of the better rehashy episodes I've seen of any cartoon.
How about you, Phantom? Which one did you prefer?
Well, if we were to consider Rollercoaster the Musical a clip show, I'd consider it one of the best clip shows they've done, like that most cartoons have. But I think it has a bit too much original footage, although it does rehash some. Honestly, I would also go the musical because, to me, like, pilots are good, but I didn't feel like everything was as established in terms of formula and the tone being consistent. And I feel by the time we got to the musical, the tone was much more consistent. Characters knew what they were, and so I would definitely go musical personally.
Okay, clean sweep.
All right, we got some viewer comments. First one from a guy named Crystal. They say, To be honest, I find a lot of the songs in Rollercoaster the Musical to be weak compared to many of the other songs in the series. They're not bad, but Phineas and Ferb has so many good musical numbers, and it's kind of disappointing that the musical episode has weaker songs than the typical episode, at least in my opinion.
I agree.
I'm glad they agree with us.
Yeah, 100%.
All right. And we also have a viewer comment from Roa the Ever, who says, I honestly feel like Rollercoaster the Musical is the best way of pretty much redoing an episode, unlike Monkey See Doggy 2, which honestly I felt was boring if you've already seen the original. Like there is a big change in concept, the musical part, but even without the songs, which I feel are great, there are a lot of little changes and added jokes, like the moose plural, Stacy putting on her outfit, or Candace screaming at the cheese, which I feel make this stand out enough to be seen as its own thing, even if it does reuse animation in some places.
Yeah,
I don't entirely agree, but you guys do.
I can see that, yeah.
All right. So, are you guys ready for the trivia game this week?
As ready as I'd ever be.
Yeah, I didn't tell you there'd be trivia. No. So the trivia game this week is I am going to say a Ferb line, and you are going to have to tell me if it is a real Ferb line or something that Pieguy just made up. These are all taken from the first season of the show, so if we ever play this again, or we ever do another Phineas and Ferb recast, we can do like season 2 or season 3. The way this is gonna work is I'll let Monsters go first, so I'll read out the prompt. Monsters will say whether he thinks it's real or fake. Phantom will say whether he thinks it's real or fake, and I'll give the answer. You guys ready?
Ready.
Yeah.
Are you guys ready?
Ready!
Yeah!
Okay. All right. So here's the first one. You do realize that's French for pencil neck.
You say Nick or neck?
Neck.
You do realize that's French for pencil neck?
Yep.
Pencil neck or pencil, comma, neck?
Pencil neck.
I'm gonna go with false.
Just because of how, like, crazy and absurd that is, I'm gonna say that's real.
All right. No, that is a real line.
Oh.
It's from the episode Run Away Runway, and it's in response to apparently someone named Gaston has been calling Candace
Gaston?
pencil neck in French. Yes. All right. So
also, they do mention the croissant.
It's not a reference to Jimmy Neutron, but yes, there is croissant.
It should be. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe
and then
it
it's
is.
what, crepes in the second? I think he said crepes.
Oh, did they?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's technically new content. Okay. Number 2. That man isn't wearing any clothes.
Oh, that's definitely false.
I'm going to say that's real again.
Monsters is correct.
Oh, man,
it's from the
sick of
episode.
this.
It's from the episode Toy to the World. I don't know the context.
Oh.
I assume someone's not wearing any clothes. So Monsters is up 2, Phantom is 0. We're going to 5, by the way.
I think I should lose points for how consistently I'm losing these.
Number 3. I think I'm allergic to that letter.
Oh, that has got to be false.
I'm going to switch sides here and say that's not real.
All right, you're both correct. It's not real. Monsters is up to 3. Phantom is up to 1. All right. Prompt number 4. That's creepy on so many levels.
Oh, that's got to be false. That sounds like something just random.
I'm going to say it's real.
That's too bad writing for Disney to do.
Monsters, what did you say?
I said I'm going to say that's real.
Monsters is correct again.
Oh, you're kidding.
No way.
Have you ever seen the show, Phantom? No.
I've
Which
watched
episode
it.
is this from?
I don't remember. Like, Pencil Neck was the only one I was just like, yeah, I could see Phineas saying that. But
well, these are Ferb lines. These are all Ferb lines.
Oh.
Yeah. It's from Journey to the Center of Candace, and it's in response to Phineas. It's in response to Phineas saying, "Yeah, we're inside Candace's stomach."
Oh.
Yeah. So Monsters is 4 for 4. Phantom is still at 1. All right. Number 5. This one's for all the Marvels. Phantom, you can catch up if I decide to award crazy bonus points for no reason.
I'll do my best to lose it.
Okay. The world may never know why the egg sings at midnight.
Oh, that can't be real, surely.
I'm going to say that's real again.
I'm gonna go false. I refuse to cave. No, I personally believe that is false.
All right, Phantom's actually right on that one.
Ooh.
That is false. Yeah, monsters, I can create random non sequiturs too. Take that. Why does the egg sing at midnight? I don't know. Leave your comments on the Discord.
We'll get some creative response next.
Is that going to be the question of the week next week? Why does the egg sing at midnight? Oh goodness. All right, so our final scores are Monsters 4 and PhantomStrider 2. You made a noble comeback.
Oh, thank you. I try.
All right, guys. Well, PhantomStrider, do you have anything to plug?
Oh, no, I don't really do plugs. I just really appreciate you having me here, Pieguy and Monster Review. It's, nice to come on the show. I've watched your reviews on, like, you do such detailed SpongeBob reviews, and, like, sometimes I'll do a workout, and I know I can tune into Pieguy because it's like, yeah, I'll get a full hour and a half out of it, and it'll be very informed opinions. I've actually occasionally mentioned I quoted you on certain parts when looking at your SpongeBob analysis because I'm a big SpongeBob fan, and yeah, I really think you do these podcasts justice in your analysis.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Well, even if you don't do plugs, if you want to see PhantomStrider's content, he has a YouTube channel over at PhantomStrider, I'm pretty sure.
Just PhantomStrider, youtube.com/PhantomStrider8, or just Google worst cartoons, it'll probably come up.
All right. Sounds good. And Monsters, do you have anything to plug? Oh, wait, no, because you're late on the Drake and Josh video.
It'll be out this Friday. I promise. If I don't have it out, I'm going to find a way to have you guys hold me accountable.
I found a way.
What episode are you covering?
All of them.
Whoa.
Well, not necessarily. I'm doing an overview of the show.
That'll be good.
A love letter of sorts.
I'm talking about it too in my next video, one of the episodes.
Which episode is it?
Josh is done.
Oh, that's an interesting episode.
I don't remember that episode. Which one is that?
It's the one where Josh is done.
Oh, that's the one where Drake gets the chemical shower.
Yeah, that's it.
Josh, I'm sorry. I'm just sorry, man.
That's exactly
I like how you didn't get it from the episode title, but you got it from my episode description, which was the episode title.
Well, that chemical shower scene does leave a bit of an impact. It's like that's a part that kind of burned into my mind as well, because it's like one of the few times I've actually seen Drake vulnerable and seem like a decent human being without that veneer of narcissism, which, it's really quite powerful.
Also seeing Josh succeed.
Oh, yeah, isn't that wonderful, I love that about Josh, is that we can actually see his character, grow, and the fact that I'm really glad he was a case where he lost weight. On YouTube, you sometimes see the opposite, where people tend to gain a lot of weight as they tend to go more over the years into the YouTube formula. But I love that with Josh, we've actually seen him grow healthier, and he looks great now, he's just gotten a kid, and, it's nice to see both of them doing very well, despite being child stars, which is rarer than it should be.
Anyway, thank you for being here, PhantomStrider. It was great to have you.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for letting me on the show.
Yeah, thanks for being here, man.
You officially surpass Cosmodor as the person furthest physically away from us that's been on the recast.
Yes.
Is that
the nice
true?
thing about Cosmodor is I do stuff with him sometimes, and whenever I chat with him, like, everyone else is in America, so like when I'm getting up, everyone's going to bed. But with Cosmodor, it's slightly different, so I have a couple of extra hours during the day where he's available.
All right. We will see you guys next time on the big 30th episode of The Recast. PIEGUYRULZ, out.
See ya.
Catch you guys next time.